There is something you do every single day without ever stopping to ask what it means. Something so ordinary, so automatic, that your mind has long since stopped noticing it happens at all. You wash your hands, and every time you do, every single time, you are standing at the edge of one of the most powerful opportunities for energetic transformation that your daily life will ever offer you. And most people walk away from that moment without receiving a single drop of what it was prepared to give. I want you to stay with me today, because what I am about to share with you is not a theory. It is not a philosophy. It is something I have watched with my own eyes over many decades of walking this path, quietly change the material circumstances of real people. Ordinary people. People who were tired. People who had almost stopped believing. People who were, in many ways, exactly where you may be right now. Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly, not to me, but to yourself. When was the last time something truly opened up for you financially? When was the last time an opportunity arrived that felt effortless, that felt like it belonged to you, that felt as though the universe had specifically placed it in your path? If that question brings up a kind of ache, a quiet grief for a version of your life that feels further away than it should, then what I'm about to tell you matters more than I can express in words alone. Because that feeling you carry, that sense of running hard and arriving nowhere, of working with genuine devotion and still watching the numbers shrink by month's end, that feeling is not proof of your failure. It is not the verdict on your worth or your capability. It is a signal. A signal from an invisible layer of your life that has been asking for attention for a very long time, and your hands are at the center of it. If this teaching is already stirring something in you, if you feel like this video arrived at the right moment, I want you to write something in the comments right now, before we go any deeper. Write, I am open and ready to receive. Not as a performance, as a declaration, as a quiet act of claiming what has always been yours. Do that now and then come back, because what follows is something I want you to receive with your full attention. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, do that now as well. Every teaching we share here is one more tool for your journey, toward prosperity, toward peace, toward the life your soul already knows is possible. Now, let me tell you about the hands. In the ancient healing traditions of the East, in the monasteries of Tibet, in the energy medicine schools of China that trace their roots back 4,000 years, the hands are never treated as simple instruments of labor. They are treated as living fields, as centers of reception and transmission, as the place where the invisible world and the physical world meet most directly. In these traditions, there are points of concentrated energy located in the center of each palm. Not metaphorical points, specific, mappable, measurable points that practitioners have worked with for millennia. These centers govern the flow of vital energy through your entire being, and they govern, with particular force, your relationship with abundance. When these centers are clear and open, energy moves freely, opportunity finds you, resources flow, the right people appear at the right moment. Doors that seemed permanently closed develop a kind of give. But when these centers become congested, and they become congested far more easily than most people realize, that flow stops. It doesn't slow gradually, it stops. And no amount of effort, no amount of strategy, no amount of determination can fully compensate for blocked hands carrying blocked energy into every interaction, every transaction, every moment of potential. Think about everything your hands move through in a single day. You handle money, bills and coins that have passed through dozens, sometimes hundreds of other people. People carrying fear, people carrying debt, people carrying the particular exhaustion of someone who has been working hard and receiving little. Every one of those emotional frequencies leaves a residue on the surface it touches. You press your hands against a phone screen for hours, absorbing electromagnetic frequencies that the ancient masters never had to contend with, but which create their own form of energetic noise. You shake hands with people under stress. You work in environments saturated with collective anxiety. You carry tension in your grip long after the moment that created it has passed. And layer by layer, over weeks and months and years, that accumulation becomes a kind of weight, a density that the energy of prosperity cannot easily move through. It is not a curse, it is not a punishment. It is simply the natural consequence of living in a physical world without the knowledge of how to maintain your energetic body. The same way a garden without tending becomes overgrown, not because something is wrong with the soil, but because clearing is part of the cycle. I want to tell you about a man I met many years ago on a retreat in the mountains of New Mexico. I'll call him Robert. He was in his early 60s, a retired electrician, the kind of man who had worked with his hands his entire life and was enormously proud of that. Strong handshake, calluses on every finger. A man who believed that hard work was the answer to every problem, because for most of his life it had been. But something had shifted in the years after he retired. Money that should have been there, savings, a small pension, some investments, kept finding ways to disappear. A medical bill here, a family emergency there, a bad decision that seemed reasonable at the time. He wasn't irresponsible, he wasn't reckless, he was just watching his security quietly dissolve, and he couldn't find the leak. What struck me about Robert wasn't the financial situation itself. It was something he said on the second evening of that retreat, sitting by a fire after the formal sessions had ended. He looked down at his hands, these large, capable, weathered hands, and he said, almost to himself, "I've spent my whole life building things with these. I don't understand why they can't seem to hold anything anymore." I sat with that for a long moment, because what Robert was describing wasn't a financial problem. It was an energetic one. His hands, which had given so much, absorbed so much, transmitted so much over 6 decades of labor, had never once been consciously cleared, never once been treated as the energetic instruments they are. And the accumulation had reached a point where his capacity to receive had been almost entirely crowded out. A teacher I studied under for 11 years, a man who had spent decades working within both the Ayurvedic tradition of India and the energy medicine practices of indigenous North American healers, used to say something I have never forgotten. The hands that cannot receive have usually forgotten how to ask. He meant that somewhere in the history of that person, the act of receiving had become associated with something uncomfortable. Something that needed to be earned beyond what was reasonable. Something that felt, at the deepest level, undeserved. And that belief, that quiet, inherited, rarely examined belief, expresses itself in the energy field of the hands before it ever expresses itself in a bank account. I worked with Robert that weekend. I showed him something simple. Something so simple he laughed when I explained it. Salt and water. He looked at me the way a man who has spent his life doing real physical work looks at someone who suggests something that sounds on the surface far too gentle to matter. But he was tired enough to try. 18 days later he sent me a message. An old business contact had called him out of nowhere, someone he hadn't spoken to in years, with a consulting opportunity. A few weeks after that, a refund arrived from a medical billing error that had occurred 3 years prior, one he'd long since written off. Small things individually, but the quality of them, the sense that something had shifted in the direction the current was flowing, was unmistakable to him. "I don't know what happened," he wrote, "but something did." Now I want to explain to you with real precision why this works. Because I have never believed that people should simply be asked to follow instructions without understanding the truth that gives those instructions their power. Salt is one of the oldest purifying substances known to any civilization on Earth. Not because of superstition, because of structure. Salt is a crystalline mineral, and crystalline structures have a property that both modern material science and ancient energetic traditions recognize. They absorb, hold, and neutralize discordant frequencies. The molecular lattice of salt, that precise repeating geometric arrangement, acts as a kind of energetic filter, capturing what is dense and dissonant and drawing it away from whatever it contacts. This is why salt has been used in preservation for thousands of years, not only physically but spiritually. In Japanese Shinto tradition, salt is placed at the entrance of sacred spaces to prevent energetic contamination. In many Native American ceremonies, salt marks the boundary between ordinary space and sacred space. In the Mediterranean cultures of antiquity, salt was considered more valuable than gold precisely because people understood, at the level of lived experience, that it did something nothing else could do. Water carries the other half of this equation. Research conducted over the last several decades into the structural behavior of water has revealed something that spiritual traditions have always known intuitively. Water responds to the quality of energy it encounters. It reorganizes its molecular structure in response to intention, to sound, to emotional presence. Water that has been held with conscious attention and genuine purpose becomes something genuinely different from water that has simply sat in a container. When you combine these two elements, salt and intentionally held water, and bring your hands into contact with that combination while in a state of genuine presence, you are not performing a ritual in the theatrical sense. You are engaging a precise energetic mechanism that has been documented across cultures on every continent for thousands of years. Your hands are the most direct portal, and this is the moment I want you to actually receive what I'm about to teach you, not just hear it, but carry it forward into your life. Before we go into the practice itself, I want to say something to those of you who have made it this far. If you are still here, it is because something in you recognized this. Not as information, as memory, as something your soul already understood and was waiting for someone to say aloud. If this channel has been part of your journey toward prosperity and transformation, consider supporting it. There is a super thanks button below this video. Every act of support keeps these teachings moving outward, reaching the people who need them most. Your generosity is its own form of energetic circulation. Now, the practice. The first thing I want you to understand is that the preparation is not separate from the ritual. It is the ritual. Choose a time, and I strongly encourage the morning, before the full weight of the day settles over you. Dawn carries a quality of openness that no other hour quite replicates. The field of possibility is thinner in the morning, more permeable. But if morning is genuinely not possible, find any pocket of quiet, real quiet, not background quiet, and begin there. You will need three things: a bowl made of glass or ceramic, never plastic, which creates an energetic barrier that interrupts conductivity. Water that is warm but not hot, warm the way a moment of genuine comfort feels on the skin. And coarse sea salt or coarse kosher salt, 3 generous tablespoons. Before anything touches the water, hold the salt in your closed palm for a moment, just a moment. Feel its weight, feel the slight roughness of the crystals. And then, and this is important, speak to it. Not as performance. Speak to it the way you would speak to something that is about to do important work on your behalf. Say aloud if you can: You are carrying away everything that has kept abundance from reaching me. That sentence is not decoration, it is instruction. It is a directive to your own consciousness and to the mineral you are holding about the specific purpose of what follows. Place the salt in the water and watch it begin to dissolve. That dissolution matters. Let it move you, even slightly. Because what you are watching is a physical representation of what is about to happen inside your own energy field. With one hand, stir the water slowly in a clockwise direction. Clockwise, in the energetic traditions of the Northern Hemisphere, corresponds to opening, to invitation, to drawing toward. As you stir, breathe deliberately, not dramatically, just consciously. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for a moment, release slowly. Now place both hands in the water, and here is where presence becomes everything. Do not think about your schedule. Do not mentally draft a to-do list. Do not let your attention drift to the conversation you need to have or the bill that arrived yesterday. Place every particle of your awareness in your hands, in the sensation of the warm water, in the feeling of the salt moving against your skin. Begin to pour the water into your hands with intention, palm against palm, slowly. Move your thumbs across the center of each palm specifically. This is where those energetic centers I described are located, and direct pressure there, with conscious attention, begins the work of clearing them. Work between each finger from base to tip. Move across the back of each hand. Take your time, there is no rush here. As you do this, say aloud in a clear voice, I release every frequency that does not belong to me. I release the weight of every hand I have shaken, every fear I have absorbed, every doubt I have carried that was never mine to carry. My hands are clear, my hands are open, my hands are ready. Stay in that water for at least 3 full minutes. And while you are there, I want you to do one specific thing with your imagination. Picture your hands glowing. Not a dramatic theatrical glow, but a warm, steady, golden light emanating from the palms. See that light growing stronger with each breath, expanding outward from the center of each palm. And see the water around your hands becoming slightly darker as it pulls away what no longer serves you, drawing out the residue, the weight, the accumulated frequencies of scarcity and strain. When you feel ready, and you will feel it, there is a quality of completion that arrives, a kind of lightness. Lift your hands slowly from the water. Do not shake them. Let the water fall back into the bowl of its own weight. Dry your hands with a clean towel, white if possible, though any clean towel will serve. As you dry each finger, each region of the palm, each part of the wrist, move slowly and deliberately. You are not simply removing moisture, you are sealing what you have just opened. You are acknowledging the clarity that is now present. When both hands are dry, bring them together at your chest in a gesture of quiet gratitude. Feel the warmth between them. It will be noticeable. That warmth is not merely physiological. It is the activation you've been working toward. And say one final time, my hands receive freely. My hands give freely. Abundance moves through me without resistance. The water in the bowl needs to be released outside your living space. If you have earth nearby, a garden, a patch of soil, even a potted plant, put it there slowly. The earth is extraordinarily capable of absorbing and transforming energetic material. This is one of her gifts. If you live in an apartment, release it down the drain while consciously visualizing everything it carries moving far away from you, dissolving completely, returning to the cycle. There is one final element I want to offer you. something that takes less than 60 seconds and that deepens the effect of everything you've just done. Immediately after the ritual, while your hands are still in their activated state, pick up a single bill or coin, any denomination. Hold it between both palms. Close your eyes, feel the warmth of your hands surrounding it, and understand in this moment that you are not holding a piece of paper or a piece of metal. You are holding a seed. You are holding the physical symbol of a current that is already beginning to move toward you. Say quietly, "This is the first of what is coming. I am grateful for what I have. I am open for what is on its way." Place that money somewhere in your home where it will remain undisturbed, a drawer, a shelf, a small dish. Leave it there. Do not spend it. Its role is not transactional. Its role is to mark a point in space within your home where the energy of receptivity has been consciously anchored. I want to close with something that lives underneath everything I've said today. The salt matters. The water matters. The intention and the movements and the specific words, they all matter. But beneath all of it, there is a truth that is older than any ritual and more powerful than any ingredient. The deepest block between most people and the prosperity that is genuinely available to them is not external. It was never external. It is the quiet, persistent, often unconscious belief that they are not quite worthy of receiving. That abundance is available, yes, but perhaps for someone a little more deserving, a little more fortunate, a little more something they have never quite managed to become. That belief is not the truth. It has never been the truth. But it is extraordinarily convincing, especially when it was planted long ago, by circumstances that felt final, by voices that carried authority, by years of effort that seemed to confirm the story. Every time you perform this ritual with genuine presence and genuine intention, you are doing something far more significant than cleaning your hands. You are choosing, in a concrete and embodied way, to act as though receiving is allowed. To act as though you are someone whose hands can hold what they attract. And that choice, made consistently, made with real feeling, is how the deep beliefs begin to shift. Not overnight, not with a single morning of salt water, but steadily, the way light shifts in a room when you open a curtain that has been drawn for a long time. Not sudden, but real, and completely transforming in the quality of everything it touches. My teacher used to say, "Prosperity does not seek the most talented, or the most disciplined, or the most clever. It seeks the most open." I have watched that be true for 50 years. The most receptive people I have ever known were not always the most gifted, but they had made some fundamental peace with the idea that good things were allowed to find them. And that peace, that radical quiet openness, was the channel through which everything else arrived. Write in the comments right now, "Prosperity flows to me through open hands." Say it as a declaration. Say it as a fact about who you are and what you are ready for. Say it and mean it, because the field around you is listening, not to your doubts, but to your declarations. If this teaching reached something real in you today, please share it with someone who is navigating a season of financial contraction. Sometimes, the most powerful thing we can offer another person is a word that arrives at the exact moment their spirit needed to hear it. Subscribe to this channel and ring the bell. Our next teaching will go into something that ancient civilizations, from the Egyptians to the Maya to the Vedic sages of India, all independently documented. Specific thresholds in the home that either amplify or diminish the flow of abundance through your living space. What those thresholds are, what they need, and what you may have unknowingly placed there that has been quietly working against you. You came here today for a reason, and your hands, right now, in this moment, are already different than they were when this began. Carry that forward. Until we meet again.